Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first ever virtual Generation Stevenage event. My name is Toby Fox and I'm your facilitator this evening. And I'm absolutely delighted that hundreds of you have joined today to find out about the exciting opportunities on your doorstep and all things #STEM. Stevenage is leading explorations in space, in science, in technology, in healthcare, and it's home to some of the most innovative companies in the world. So how can you find out more about them and perhaps about your future with them? Well, that's what we're here for. Today, we hope to answer some of your questions, and you can post plenty more in the chat throughout the event. Now, I'm going to introduce you to two excellent people, our fantastic speakers this evening, Bim Afolami, the MP for Hitchin and Harpenden, and Adrian Hawkins, who's chair of the Stevenage Development Board and former deputy chair of Hertfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership and chair of the LEP Skills and Employment Board. First, Bim Afolami. Bim is a British Conservative Party politician. He served as a Member of Parliament for Hitchin and Harpenden constituency since the 2017 general election. He's active in supporting charities and other voluntary groups, and he's a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and a member of the Ditchley Foundation. Bim's a keen sportsman and supports Northampton Saints Rugby Union Club and Arsenal FC, and is married to Hetty, and they live outside Harpenden with their 3 sons. I'm going to hand over to you, Bim, to take the stage.
Great. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to join you all virtually. And thanks for joining because, I remember being your age and you often get completely bombarded with so much information. So I just want to say thank you guys for engaging with this. It's going to be really, really exciting. I was asked to come and speak to you and I jumped at the chance because I know the really good work that's going on in Stevenage. As was said, I'm a neighbouring MP, so I know Stevenage well. I know lots of my constituents work in Stevenage. In fact, some of my constituents go to school in Stevenage. Stevenage is really at the heart of so much exciting stuff in the areas that were just mentioned. Today, or this evening, I should say, you're going to hear and get a little taster of some of the key industries in our country. You're going to hear from businesses like MBDA, who make one of the world's leaders in missile technology and rockets. You're going to hear from the Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst. What they are, they have more than 40 companies doing exciting work around science. You're going to hear from the cell and gene therapy Catapult. Now, cell and gene therapy, and I was speaking about this before I came on to here, helps cure blindness, can help cure many inherited diseases. Absolutely pioneering work that's going on, not just for this country, but for the world. You're going to hear from the East and North Hertfordshire NHS Trust, and we all know the work the NHS has been doing through this pandemic, and they're at the forefront of that. GSK, huge pharmaceutical company, who are one of the leading companies in the world making vaccines to help put COVID completely in the rearview mirror in the coming months. So again, a really exciting business. And last but not least, Airbus, world-renowned aircraft manufacturer. And yes, we will fly again soon. So keep your spirits up, and I'm sure they are too. It's an absolute pleasure to join you. It's really, really exciting. My word of encouragement or just piece of advice, engage with it. You're here now, you're logged on, try. Really, really engage with it, because these opportunities are things that most young people don't get. So really, really make the most of it. And now I'm going to hand over to my friend, Adrian Hawkins, who's chair of the Stevenage Development Board. And I'll tell you something about Adrian. He's a very modest man, so he won't say this. Adrian's been a very, very successful businessman. And you will look at him and see a very successful guy. And he is. He came from Stevenage. He did an apprenticeship. He worked his way up. He grew and developed a very successful business. What Adrian has done, you guys can do too. So listen to him. He's got a lot of good things to say.
Thank you, Bim. Good evening, everyone. My sincere thanks to Bim Afolami MP for your continued support of our activities in education and skills, and particularly your help with our students of various ages here in Hertfordshire, as well as the many other activities that you get up to supporting this county. So thank you, Bim. I'm Adrian Hawkins. I chair the recently created Stevenage Development Board, and our independent group are focused on the future regeneration of the town. We know that the heart of the town lies with its people, and we are keen for all of you to enjoy Stevenage. As we work hard not only to improve the infrastructure around you, but also create the environment that you wish to live in and enjoy. As Bim has mentioned, I am a child of a new town, literally born in Stevenage in the 1950s in my parents' council house. I grew up here, made friends, and was educated within my hometown. It provided the safe haven for me, my siblings, and many other families to develop and progress throughout our lives. Stevenage as a place gave back directly to its people. I started my first business here in Stevenage, which became very successful at promoting products internationally. I went on to grow a multi-million-pound manufacturing firm, Weldability SIF, here in the UK. Now it's your turn, Generation Stevenage, to make things happen. And events like this one this evening can help you to make informed career choices for your future. During my work with the Hertfordshire LEP over the last 6 years, we created a new app called Hop Into at hopinto.co.uk so that you can hop into a new career anywhere in Hertfordshire and find out about the educational and job opportunities that are available for you close by. Here in Stevenage, we are lucky to have so many world-class employers in the town. Many of these are involved in science, technology, and engineering. All are sector champions and are places where you can marvel at space exploration at one end of Gunnelswood Road and life sciences at the other. In a moment, I will hand you back to your host, Toby Fox, who will be putting the spotlight on our key sector champions before you're allocated to your chosen breakout session. There will be lots of opportunities to post questions and take part in the live polls, so please take part in these when prompted. Please do take this opportunity to listen to our sector champions, the apprentices, and their new starters about their experiences. And above all, Generation Stevenage, enjoy yourselves. Have a great evening. Thank you.
That's great, Adrian. Thank you very much indeed. And Adrian, putting the spotlight on you very briefly, you didn't mention many of the things that you do and are responsible for in and around Stevenage. Adrian is chair of the Stevenage Development Board, as he mentioned, but also chair of the LEP's Skills and Employment Board and was deputy chair of Hertfordshire LEP from 2017 to 2020. He's also the founder of Weldability SIF, the innovative advanced manufacturing firm based in Letchworth Garden City, which he did mention, but he didn't mention he's also the chairman and co-founder of Biz4Biz, an organisation established to support Hertfordshire business owners and leaders, as well as patron of the business clubs working alongside local MPs. And he's a former school and college governor and a chair of an academy trust. And he's the founder of Weldability SIF Foundation, a registered charity which, working alongside further education colleges and businesses such as Make UK and EDF, has created 35 welding skills training college studios across the UK and delivered 16,000 qualifications since inception. So if you want to aim high, then aim at achieving to the level that Adrian has. Well done, Adrian, and thank you very much for joining us this evening, and also to Bim for sparing the time during a really busy night for government, I know. So I really appreciate your time today. Right, now, viewers, we're going to go over to the pitch. I'm delighted to introduce our 6 sector champions representing GSK, Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult, Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst, Airbus, MBDA, and the NHS. They're each going to have about 3 minutes to tell you a little bit about their organisation and how you can apply to be part of it. Now, first on the podium is going to be MBDA's Andy Baker. He's the HR manager there. Now, Andy, thinking about when I was trying to work out what kind of career I might enjoy, going back in time, I don't know, about 200 years or so, what I'd like to hear from you is a little bit about yourself and about why I should get excited at the thought of joining you at MBDA. Over to you.
Thank you, Toby. I couldn't unmute myself then. It was a bit weird. Can you all hear me okay?
All good.
Fantastic. Yeah, a little bit about myself. So I'm the HR manager for early careers recruitment at MBDA. I guess most of you will know of or have at least heard of MBDA. So let me just give you an overview, if I may, about the business first. So those that don't know us, we're an international company of over 11,000 people. And all of those people have made us the Europe's leading missile systems company, and essentially a major global player in the sector, certainly in defence and missile systems, certainly. We're the only European company to meet the whole range of complex weapon systems needed across the three armed forces. And we're also very proud to be a trusted partner of the UK's Ministry of Defence, and the part that we play in helping protect the UK and our armed forces. So I guess you might be thinking, I'm sitting here as a student, a college student, school student, university student maybe, and how you fit into our world. We recruit over 220 young students into our business every year in the UK. And we truly believe that the early careers members that we have, and that could be any of you on the call, let's be brutally honest, are the future of defence. And because of this, our schemes offer a really good opportunity to work for not only a global organisation, but also an opportunity for you to play a really important role in protecting our land, sea and air. To give you an example of our higher end degree apprenticeships, they all provide you, certainly in Stevenage, a 4-year scheme in either engineering, operations, programs or business, and the opportunity to achieve a recognised qualification via day release at university or college, whilst gaining incredible work experience at one of the world's leading defence organisations, such as MBDA. No matter what area of the business you complete your apprenticeship, you will certainly make a difference in MBDA. Most of the opportunities that you will have in the business are rotational. So you will move around the business and you'll gain essential knowledge and experience throughout the 4 years. But it will also help you define what your future career looks like and what career path you want to take in MBDA, of course. Everyone follows a structured training and development program, which is designed to provide you with the best tools for you to create and forge a successful career. But all of this alongside other early careers members around you. So there's loads of people around you that will offer you help, give you advice and guidance, and generally offer you some support along your journey. But just one thing to add, if I may, it's not just about the work for MBDA, of course. So when you're on the scheme, and whether or not you're an apprentice or an experienced person that's been in the business for many years, we encourage you to get involved with outreach programs with students and schools, maybe inspiring the next generation of engineers or business professionals, for example. You may want to volunteer. You may want to join our charity challenge team. You might want to join one of our many networks we have, join a sports team, or simply just attend a social event that we have many of throughout the year. But one final add, if I may, in closing, Toby, is just to add that for those that head into the MBDA breakout rooms, I'm sure the team will add a lot more information than I can ever do in this short period of time. But for MBDA, it's really important that you understand that we're looking for people that are what you're good at. Clearly that's important, but the most important thing for MBDA as a business is to understand what you enjoy doing. That's really important for us, and I think that will come out when you go into the breakout sessions. So that's just a very, very brief snapshot of us as a business. I could probably talk for many more minutes, I'm sure, but thanks for listening, and if you get an opportunity to talk to the guys in the breakout room, please do so, because they can bring that to life a lot more than I ever can.
That's great stuff, Andy. Thank you very much. Thanks for getting us off to such a great start. Now, it's a pleasure to welcome Hugo Villanueva, of the Innovation and Business Development Director at Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst. Hugo, imagine I'm a youngster and this is going to take some serious special effects, but I've got decent qualifications and I've got the world at my feet. Why would I decide to join you at the Bioscience Catalyst?
Good question. Okay, well, I'll just start from the start with that Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst. So essentially, we're a science park, and we're home to more than 40 companies that are working currently on cures for cancer, immune disorders, and inherited diseases. We're located right with GSK, right at the end of Gunnelswood Road, and it's a really fast-growing environment. So the companies at SBC, Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst, this year, they have raised more than 1.6 billion, not this year, sorry, overall, since 2012, they've raised more than 1.6 billion of funding. And then this year, they've raised 700 million of funding. So you can tell that how fast these companies are growing. And as they grow, they're looking for bright young people, such as yourselves, to come and solve global health problems with them. So just to highlight some of the companies that we have on campus, because we've got more than 40 companies. So we've got LifeArt, which is one of the biggest UK medical charities by size of investment. And then without stealing the next speaker's thunder, I will also say that we are home to some of the fastest growing cell therapy companies in the UK, namely Freeline, Autolus, Gyroscope, and Achilles. And all of these have apprenticeship programs that are supported by the Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult and others, and they offer some fantastic opportunities for apprentices. So one other thing that I'd like to point out is that the life science sector was one of the least affected sectors during the pandemic, because we need people to find cures to COVID and everything else. So we need young people such as yourselves to find a cure for tomorrow. So you have to remember also that employment in science is not just pure research, but everyone else who supports it. So from the HR to the operations team who run the lab facilities to the people manufacturing the drugs themselves, as well as the ones who do business, such as myself. So some of the routes into our business and to the businesses that are at the Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst, you can either join via an apprenticeship. You could also do a bachelor's and PhDs, but these are more valued for pure R&D, research and development. And it's often easier to teach someone new habits than have to retrain and get rid of bad habits. So nowadays, a lot of companies are moving towards apprenticeship. And if you're interested in any of these companies that we have, I would suggest that you go to www.stevenagecatalyst.com under the organization tab. Look at the ones which are of interest to you, and you can send them a message. Or alternatively, you can go on the contact us button, and you can always send me an email if you need an introduction, or just figure out which companies are offering apprenticeship schemes. Thanks.
That's great stuff, Hugo. Thank you very much indeed. Right, find the cure for tomorrow. That's particularly kind of attractive proposition in days like these. Stephen, you and Hugo got a bit of a double act going tonight. What's so special about the work you're doing at the Catapult, the Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult?
Hi, evening everyone. I'm Stephen Ward, Chief Manufacturing Officer of the Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult. For those of you who are familiar with Stevenage, it's just the end of Gunnelswood Road. It's that large grey building near the Nebworth roundabout. So, Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult, nice little logo up there, hopefully you can see it. We're an independent Centre for Excellence with a mission to drive UK growth in the cell and gene therapy space. And we achieve that by helping companies achieve this and translate that early science that you often see in the press and on the social media, etc., and putting that into commercially viable and investable therapies. So basically, it's taking ideas, taking the science, and making them into tangible therapies. We've touched on it already. We and other colleagues across the life science sector have been heavily involved with the COVID response, both through to creating and generating vaccine production in the UK, but also the delivery of that material to the sites that hopefully we'll be reading about more in the up and coming weeks. So just to sort of row back a bit. So this, there's two questions I wanted to go through, really. One to the audience and one to myself. So the first one is, what do you want to get out of the day when you get out in the morning? And to me, and this was driven me now for over 20, 30 years, is we can actually achieve cures, not just therapies. Cures for blindness. People have got various eye disorders. We can put stem cells into their eyes and rectify that. Therapies for even deafness. We can regenerate the liver by putting various cell types back into cirrhotic livers. We can cure leg ulcers by putting skin patches onto these ulcers. And perhaps a lot of the headlines that people have been seeing in gene therapy. So you're effectively rectifying inherited genetic defects by putting in functional genes into these patients, curing haemophilia, diseases of that like. And of course, cancer. How many times a scientist asks, can you cure cancer? Well, I think we've come as close as we can have done so far now with autologous cell therapy, and that means taking cells from patients that often have, for example, leukemia. We can then reboot those cells in facilities like you have in Stevenage. At the end of Gunnelswood Road, we're actually rebooting leukemia patient cells there, working with partners like Autolus and TCR Squared and others. And they're going back to patients within weeks, cancer patients who then look at the scans, their cancers are just disappearing. It's absolutely amazing. It's amazing technology. If that doesn't get you out of bed in the morning, well, I'm not entirely sure what does. What has Stevenage got to do about it? Well, Hugo's quite nicely teed up the whole life science ecosystem that we have in Stevenage, a real vibrant community there. It's raised a lot of private money. There's a lot of investment, a lot of excitement around the next generation life science, and we believe cell and gene is right at the heart of that. The cluster that we have in Stevenage, just to put this into context, is the biggest cluster outside of the US in terms of cell and gene therapy. So, if you just put that into context of the 1,000 or so companies across the globe and the 20 billion that gets invested year on year in this sector, the cluster around Stevenage is the third largest globally. It's quite incredible what we have right on the doorstep here in Stevenage. And, we think now it's a really exciting area to get into as it's maturing and developing as an industry. The manufacturing challenges and how we take this science and make them into delivering therapies, which is what I'm all about. Huge amounts of opportunities now. You don't have to have PhDs. You don't have to have higher degrees. There's a whole raft of apprenticeship opportunities in this sector. You can come in at the level 2, level 3 grades, right the way through to level 6, level 7s. The Catapult has received some sort of funding from central government to set up and deliver an apprenticeship community. We currently have close to 40 companies now. Part of that community is really vibrant. There's about 150 apprentices now on that scheme, and that's growing year on year really quickly. It's only been going the last couple of years, and indeed we had one of our first graduates a couple of weeks ago who came through on the first cohort, and actually she was involved with making the vaccine that has come out of Oxford University, and AstraZeneca is now pushing forward. So, this is real tangible stuff. It's really within everyone's grasp on this call, and it really just to highlight that this is accessible. It's a fantastic career in life science and cell and gene therapy and manufacturing. That nice building at the end. There's an awful lot of exciting innovation going on there, and you can be a part of it.
That's amazing. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Stephen Ward, from the Chief Manufacturing Officer at the Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult. I mean, who wouldn't want to be involved in the Oxford vaccine? This is life-saving, world-changing stuff. George Stevens, Deputy Director of People Capability at Eastern North Hertfordshire NHS Trust. I mean, I'm really tempted by Stephen and Hugo. They've made a compelling case, right? What can the NHS offer to beat that?
Thanks, Toby, and welcome everybody. So, we've heard from Stephen and Hugo about the fantastic work that they do in their sectors, and you know what, the NHS is really proud to be able to bring some of those technologies and science to life in treating our patients. I was talking to my CEO just yesterday about, why would anybody want to come and work in the NHS, and what we were talking about really resonated. No matter where you work in the NHS, you can be assured that whatever you do on a daily basis will be making a difference to someone's life, regardless of whether it's in a clinical role or a role that's kind of back of office of finance, HR, etc. I'm lucky enough to work at Eastern North Herts NHS Trust, and most of my remit is around learning and education. The NHS needs young people like you who are innovative, want a really exciting, fantastic career ahead of them to join us in looking after our patients and looking after our staff. The NHS was founded back in 1948, which probably seems like millions of years ago to some of you guys, but really in the grand scheme of things, it's not that old. But what we do is we provide care to anybody who needs it at the point of access. So, if you need care, we'll look after you. At Eastern North Herts, we have about 6,000 people working for us, but the NHS as a whole has 1.5 million employees, and makes us one of the biggest employers worldwide. Like I said, there are so many opportunities within health and social care, and I'm lucky enough to be joined in the breakout session by some of our fantastic people, as well as Rebecca Cornish from the Herts and West Essex Health and Social Care Academy. And in 3 minutes, I can't possibly talk to you about all of the opportunities there are within healthcare, health and social care. But I will tell you, it's not just doctors and nurses. It takes a massive team of people to make that impact on people's lives. We have some fantastic opportunities in terms of apprenticeships, and we can, if we think about our nursing apprenticeships, we can get you from a healthcare support worker all the way through to an advanced clinical practitioner, which I was lucky enough to be up until recently. We have an absolute wealth of technical and administrative apprenticeships that we can support people through. And if you're not quite sure, we've at the end of university, we have graduate management schemes that will build up on your learning and education into the NHS. I love my job. I'm a nurse by background and have worked in a number of roles, and I've loved working in the NHS. And what I can guarantee you is that no 2 days will be the same. Look forward to seeing you all in the breakout session.
Great stuff, George. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Sybil Bleedung, Early Careers Programme Support Outreach Coordinator at Airbus. Sybil, George has tapped into my desire to do some good now. He's made me want to help make Stevenage a better place. Does Airbus offer me anything that emotionally rewarding?
Yeah, definitely. So Airbus is one of the largest aerospace companies in Europe, and also a worldwide leader across 3 different sectors, which are commercial aircraft, helicopters, and defence and space. So probably the most well-known is Airbus aircrafts and the planes that we build. But here in Stevenage, we're actually part of the defence and space sector. So this means we develop and manufacture satellites. And these satellites are used for telecommunication. For example, when you use your mobile phone for Earth observation, they were really important in the fires in Australia and America this summer. Then also for navigation, when you use a GPS, and also we're involved in space exploration. So you've probably heard when you're from Stevenage that the Mars rover is built in Stevenage at our Airbus site, which is really exciting. So you could be working on something that then gets sent to Mars in the future. So yeah, I think it's a really great place to work at. I was an intern before, so I came through the early careers route, and I now work full-time in HR. And we offer a technical apprenticeship, which is a 3-year program that you can join after GCSEs or after doing your A-levels. Then we also have a graduate program if you decide to go to university and want to apply later. And we also offer internships like I've done. And brand new this year, we also offer degree apprenticeships. So you could be working and studying at the same time and getting paid for doing your degree, which is also very great. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Sybil, thank you very much. Getting paid to do your degree. Our final champion, Joshua Carney, early talent recruitment specialist at GSK. Joshua, Sybil's now given me an exciting picture of my future. I can see myself being part of this global operation, maybe getting to live and work in different parts of the world and being part of literally a high-flying industry. Am I making a mistake, though? Should I be spending more time with you instead?
Oh, you're not making a mistake, of course, but I am going to talk to you a little bit about GSK as well. So, yeah, thanks so much for having us. As was mentioned, my name's Josh. I work for GSK in our recruitment team. You may have heard about us. You might know a little bit about the organisation already. But to give you a quick overview, I suppose, we're one of the largest healthcare companies in the world. So we operate in about 150 different countries all around the world. We have about 100,000 employees, and we focus on pharmaceutical products. So those are the kind of life-saving medicines, vaccines. So you may have seen in the media a little bit, and I think Bim talked about it in the introduction about all the work that GSK is doing at the moment on the COVID vaccine. That's a huge part of what we do. But we also make consumer healthcare products. So those products you may have seen in Boots, things like Panadol, like Sensodyne, like lots of real household names. So GSK has a really important purpose. It's probably the main reason why I really wanted to join and work for the company. And it's something that is the real reason why students and people at all levels choose to apply and come into GSK. It's that purpose of helping people to do more, to feel better, to live longer. The idea that everything we're doing, everything that anyone who's working for the company is contributing to that purpose and that aim is something that really resonated with me when I was choosing where to apply. And I think that's something that really is important for anyone who's looking to join us. So I'm going to talk about, a few of the early talent opportunities. We're really pleased to be here today because we've got our huge R&D hub, which is located in Stevenage. We've also got an R&D and manufacturing site in Ware, so not a million miles away from Stevenage too. And we've got a huge number of early talent opportunities at both of those sites, whether it's apprenticeships, placement opportunities, or looking a bit further ahead, looking at graduate opportunities a few years down the line as well. So we've got higher and degree level apprenticeships in laboratory science, whether that's in biology or in chemistry, within data science, within supply chain. We also have kind of post-16 sort of advanced level apprenticeships. So if you're looking at what to do after your GCSEs, for example, in Ware site, we've got apprenticeships within engineering and within manufacturing as well. So I'm not going to go on to too much more detail because I know we're swiftly running out of time and running over a little bit already. But if you are interested in working for an organisation that genuinely does have a huge impact on hundreds of millions of people all around the world and does help people to do more, to feel better, to live longer. And if any of those opportunities at our huge R&D hub at Stevenage, for example, really does jump out at you, I'd very much recommend you coming along to the different breakout sessions we're running today, learn a little bit more about GSK, learn a little bit more about what we do and the different apprenticeship opportunities that we have at the organisation. And yeah, really hope that you do enjoy the rest of the event this evening as well. And thanks very much for having me.
Thank you, Joshua. That was brilliant. What a great set of opportunities. Now, viewers, you've been very patient and you've been talked at for a good half hour now. And now it's your time to get your own back and ask your own questions. So we're going to open the breakout rooms and you'll be shortly placed into your chosen sessions. Each session is going to last about 25 minutes. And then you'll go into a second breakout session, which will also last about 25 minutes. You can get where you need to go. However, if you want to speed up the process, please choose your breakout room from the tab at the bottom of your screen. And I'm going to be back after the breakouts at around 7:30. So I'll look forward to seeing you all then.
Let's get started. So welcome everybody to the Airbus breakout session. So in the beginning, you heard a little bit about what we do as a company. I've given you a brief overview. And so my name is Sybil and I work in the early careers team. So my team is responsible for the selection and the onboarding of all of our graduates and apprentices. So if you applied for a role within Airbus, you will probably come across me at some point, or my team definitely. And we also look after the training throughout the program, and we liaise with the colleges to make sure they deliver the educational part of your apprenticeship, for example. And in general, we also make sure that all of our apprentices and graduates complete the program successfully. So today I have 3 other people, maybe just 2 with me. So Aisha, Kaya and Josh are supposed to be here. I think we're still missing Josh. But Kaya and Josh are on the apprenticeship scheme and Aisha is on our graduate scheme. And they will tell you a bit more about what their roles are and give you a better idea of what it's like working for Airbus. So, yeah, I'll hand it over to you, Aisha, if you want to start.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Sybil. So my name is Aisha. I am currently a graduate systems engineer here at Airbus. So I'm going to talk a bit about myself and my background and how I got here. So I went through the university route. So after my GCSEs, I studied at sixth form, where I did my A-levels. The subjects I chose was maths, physics, and psychology. I chose those kind of subjects because I found it quite interesting while studying for my GCSE. I really enjoyed doing mathematical problems. I enjoyed solving equations and stuff. And to be honest, it was something that I thought I was pretty good at the time. So I went through that route and picked those subjects. After sixth form, I chose to do a degree in aeronautics at City University London. I chose those subjects and that degree at the time because I guess I always found planes quite interesting. I was always curious to know how they fly. Like when I'd visit the airport and go on holiday, I'll always stare at a plane for a good 10 minutes straight. And I used to watch videos. So I guess that sort of really enticed my interest, which is why I picked that degree. So what made me decide to work for Airbus and why did I apply? So during my university, when I studied aeronautics, I did an internship at Airbus. So at the time of applying, I was looking for a role in aeronautics rather than defense and space. I came across a mechanical engineering role at defense and space, and I applied at the time because I looked at the roles and stuff that I'd be doing during the internship, and I was quite familiar with the stuff that I had done in my degree. So I sort of thought, and it was something that I enjoyed at the time during my degree. So I applied for that particular role. I guess at the time, so during my internship, I was able to network a lot and talk to a lot of people around the company, not just the department that I worked for, but in different areas. So I particularly in my internship, I worked at engineering and mechanical engineering, but I was able to network with other people from different departments like business and IT and even systems engineering. So when I did network with a lot of people, I came across a systems engineer, and that was something that I was completely interested in. It was something that I really liked and enjoyed, which is when after my internship, when I finished studying at my university degree, is when I decided to apply for that particular role in my graduate scheme, and which was something that I'm doing right now. So I guess the reason I particularly applied for Airbus is because there are so many departments, so many areas of the business where you can go into. Even though I stepped foot in a mechanical engineering role, I was able to talk to other people and actually go into another complete different role in a different department and do something that I wanted to do. So I guess there's a lot of flexibility when you're entering a company, and such a big company, and different areas where you could really, really go into. Not only is there defense and space, not only do we do a bit of some stuff in space, we also go into different areas. So not only do you have different roles, you also have different projects. So for example, earlier this week, I was working on space, and now I'm working a bit on unmanned vehicles, which is basically autonomous sort of self-navigating vehicles and different projects there. So I guess I also applied for the role because in my role description, it talked about how Airbus is such a big international company and there are different areas where you could go into. So that really did appeal to me. Okay, so more about my current role. I am a systems engineer. My role is to manage the engineering side of developing and making the product. So it focuses a bit more on how to design, integrate, and just manage systems throughout the life cycle. So in my case, I'm working on a satellite. So my role would be to look at the initial design of the satellite, then carry it through to the manufacturing, and then look at how it would function when it's up there in space, and ensure that the engineering systems are, functioning to its requirements. So more or less at the moment, I'm on the beginning of the life cycle. What I particularly enjoy about working at Airbus is able to network with different people, talk to different departments. So I guess that's one of the most enjoyable things when you're working in such a big company and a diverse company as well. So any tips? So if you want to go down the university route, then there are different opportunities, like you can do A-levels or you could do BTEC, or, there's lots of different ways of going into that kind of field. With regards to applications, I think it's important to look at the role that you're applying to, ensure that you answer the requirements. So for example, if it requires you to have some form of communications or team working skill, maybe talk about some of the projects you do in school, and just really talk about how you fit into that role. And that's it for me, Sibyl. So if I could hand it over back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Aisha. So, Kaya, are you able to tell us a bit more about the apprenticeship? So we've heard about the graduate scheme from Aisha now, and over to you, Kaya, for the apprenticeship scheme.
Hi, my name's Kaya. I'm only 18, and I did the kind of straight out of GCSEs. I came to an apprenticeship. Going to college and going to uni full time didn't really appeal to me. I'm quite a hands-on person. I wanted to work. So I went and I came to Airbus. So my background with engineering wise was quite at home kind of based. I did take electronics at GCSEs, but I didn't really do any full engineering kind of options. But I used to work a lot with my dad on his motorbikes and things like that. I used to race, so I was always helping out. So I used to love just kind of getting my hands a bit dirty and doing things like that. And then I also worked for his company on the side, kind of summer job and half terms and weekends and things like that. So his company makes satellite receivers for network bands like BT trucks and Sky trucks, and as well as like compact flyaways for the army for them to carry on their backs. And I always found that so interesting, and it was just helpful, and I loved it. So at the moment on the apprenticeship, I'm kind of going from placement to placement, and each placement's about 12 weeks. So you really get to see almost every aspect of the business, especially at the moment. It's just nice to meet loads of new people and understand Airbus kind of from a different point of view. And it's also nice to understand the process, the workflow, who speaks to who and what impacts who. And things like that. So at the moment, I'm in the design office, which I'm loving. Absolutely love. Currently, I'm designing a new bracket for the top of a new satellite called Thrier. Now, they wanted to use the same bracket as the one that's underneath, but they've kind of given me a bit of free will with what I'm doing. They know the things that are attached to the bracket, they have to stay in the same place. So as long as my design keeps them in the same place, I've had to redesign it multiple times because it has to be changed. People change their minds and some things aren't working. And so it's a lot of stress a little bit, but it's worth it because it's something that I'm designing is actually going to be on a satellite that goes to space. So as long as many people check it, I think it'll be okay. But so a typical day for me really involves a lot of meetings and people coming from different buildings to check that what I'm doing is okay, that I haven't missed anything. So many people have to check it. And every day I'm learning something new. So what I love about a big company is that we're always learning something. You can think that you know everything about one process, and then something will come along and you'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. But that's the interesting part of it, because there's never a boring day. You always have something to do. But yeah, if you're gonna apply for an apprenticeship, go in full. Don't hold back at all, and you're going to meet loads of new people. So be prepared to speak to lots of people, and everyone will give you new bits of advice. So you'll always learn something. So you'll never be bored. But yeah, that's about it. Sybil.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that insight to the both of you. I think we're still missing Josh, aren't we? Yeah, not here. Okay, well, but Josh is also on the apprenticeship scheme and does kind of similar things as Kaya, but maybe with a bit of a different background. But unfortunately, we're having technical difficulties.
I am here, Sybil.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, can you see me?
Now I can. Yeah, we
okay,
do.
Very good.
They said you were floating around in space somewhere.
Yeah, it took them a while to move me over, but we got here eventually.
Oh, perfect. So then I'll just hand over to you. So if you could give us a bit of an insight about what you do on the apprenticeship scheme and how you got there.
Yeah, that's perfect. So as Sybil was saying, my name's Josh. I'm 22. I went to John Henry in Stevenage. So I've been in Stevenage for a long time now. Airbus obviously only up the road. My mum's worked on the Stevenage site for over 30 years. So I was well aware of the goings on within the business and just its presence really. So I stayed at school, did my GCSEs, did A-levels, didn't really do any sort of A-levels related to engineering, to be honest. I studied fine art for 2 years, so engineering wasn't really on the remit until I left school, did another job. I was a maintenance engineer for 3.5 years, just fixing machines. Decided that I wanted something a little bit different. And as I mentioned, just through my mum, and I've also got a lot of friends that work at Airbus. I was aware of the apprenticeship program and applied, and was fortunate enough to be accepted. So I'm actually in the same year cohort as Kaya. So we both joined the business at the same time. She's an engineering apprentice, whereas I'm a craft apprentice. So it's slightly different. Kaya, as she said, is still going around on her rotations, whereas I've done my rotations. I'm now in my final placement area. So I work in one area, specialise on one product every day. Kaya is probably more desk-based, office-based, it's probably fair to say. My job is fully hands-on, so I come in every day. In terms of a typical day for myself, come in, usually get a coffee to wake myself up in the morning, head straight down to the clean room. We get changed, full PPE. So when you see the pictures online of guys dressed up in, the big suits and the hairnets and everything, that's what I do every day. Go in, have a morning meeting, and then we work physically on the build. So it's probably one of the cool things, one of the nice things to be able to say that you do every day, talk to your friends and your family, is I physically build stuff that goes to space every day. So it's pretty cool. At the moment, I'm working on antenna systems for, as Aisha was saying, telecoms, Earth navigation, all the signals that we send and receive to and from space, all fed through large antenna feeds. So it's big mechanical builds with electrical integration. So you get your mechanical stuff, you get your sparky stuff in, and the wiring and bonding and all that kind of stuff. So it's all good fun. During this year, I've actually I moved on to a new a new project. I was actually involved on the ExoMars rover project. So there was two senior technicians assigned to a task force for some work, and I joined them. So in terms of opportunities that you get through the apprenticeship, is pretty endless, really. If you apply yourself, as Kaya was saying, you network with the right people, make the right impressions. Some of the opportunities you get whilst you're on site in some of the placements are pretty incredible, really. It's a very unique workplace. There's not many people do what we do. So to come in every day and have the opportunity to work on projects like that and with people like that, it's pretty impressive.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh. So yeah, I think you've now all got a good insight of what we do at Airbus, what it's like to be a graduate or an apprentice. And yeah, just some general bits. So what we ask for, if you apply for the apprenticeship, we ask for at least 5 GCSEs. Those can be achieved or predicted, including a grade 5 or 6 in maths and English, and a general interest in engineering. This can come from hobbies or projects you worked on in school or working with your dad like Kaya did. And yeah, so definitely demonstrate a good interest when you go to the interview, research the company, know your stuff well before you apply. And yeah, if you decide to go to university first, then you could go down the route like Aisha did, or like Aisha and myself did, do an internship first and then come on the graduate scheme. So yeah, there are loads of different opportunities. And one new thing that I mentioned in the intro is that we also offer degree apprenticeships for the first time this year. We don't have anybody to talk about it yet because we haven't had it before, but we do offer in aerospace engineering and in software development, you can now work and do a degree at the same time. So, yeah, I'm not sure how much time we have left because everything was a bit messy and we've run over already. But I'm going to try and see if we can answer some questions from the chat. If you have any questions, just type them in and I'm trying to pick it up. So somebody said I would probably find something for IT. Yeah, so IT, probably the degree apprenticeship that we now just introduced, software development, maybe that goes in the direction of IT, could be something for you. So yeah, definitely have a look at our website. All the applications are live. So the apprenticeship and the graduate program is live now, and the degree apprenticeships will be live within the next 2 weeks. So definitely keep an eye on the website. Is there anything that combines IT with physical engineering? So yeah, most of our programs or all of our programs combine all aspects of the business. So as Kay and Josh said, you rotate across different areas of the business. You will get an insight in multiple areas, and they also combine IT and engineering, physics.
I can add something.
Yes, please.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So with regards to IT, there's so many opportunities in data science, cybersecurity. Also, I think I read a question about physical engineering. We have data scientists out there. We have software engineers. So there's lots of different opportunities in different areas of IT. It's just like they all should be on the website. But yeah, all over the company, there's different places to go into, really.
Thank you. Are there any international projects? So yeah, the satellites that we build are definitely international projects. So most of the parts get sent off to France after we've worked on them. So we are a global company. So definitely everything is more or less international. But as an employee in Stevenage, at the moment the opportunities are a bit limited because we have travel restrictions because of COVID, but in general, yes, because we are a very international company. So for the degree apprenticeship, what level of grades would you be looking for? So you need to have A levels, but since they are not live yet, I can't exactly tell you what the grades you need. It's definitely maths and English as well, but the grades, yeah, we need to wait till they are live on the website to exactly tell you. Work experience. Yeah, we used to offer work experience on the Stevenage side, but again, social distancing measurements don't allow us too many people on the site at the moment. But we have a virtual work experience program as well now that just went live this week. So the first week is running now, but they will be doing more weeks in the future. So that's also on our website. Definitely check out the website and search for virtual work experience. Yeah, how has COVID affected Airbus? So I mentioned COVID a few times already. So we were lucky enough, none of us have been furloughed. We've been working from home mostly, as I said, because we have to keep distance on site. We can't all go on site. Some are still working on site, but if it's possible, if you're in an office-based environment, if you're at a desk and you have a laptop and a mobile phone, you can mostly work from home, which we are trying to do just so that everybody can stay safe. But other than that, I think we have been quite lucky because some of the industries have been hit harder than we have, especially also our colleagues in commercial aircraft, because obviously all of the planes are not flying at the moment, or not as much as they used to. So it's a bit more difficult for them. But in defence and space here in Stevenage, we have been quite lucky, to be honest. Work experience for A-level students. So that's the same as for GCSEs and A-levels. It's also the virtual work experience scheme. So you would be looking for the same thing on the website. Okay, I'm asked to wrap it up and just answer. Yeah, there's too many questions. Yeah, I think we're running out of time. I'm really sorry about all of the questions we couldn't answer, but I think you will be told how to find out more in the end, and you can send in questions still after the event.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for choosing GSK as your breakout session. We're going to be talking today about GSK, who we are as a company, and then we're going to be looking at the options that you have to get into GSK, mainly focusing on apprenticeships. So this is the agenda for today's sort of presentation breakout session. We're going to be talking about who we are and introducing ourselves, your two panelists, and then we're going to be looking at who the company are, what different ways you have of being able to get into the company, and then all finally finishing on some questions. So once again, if you do have any questions at any time, please put them into the chat function, and once we reach the end, we will try to answer them all.
So hello everybody, my name is Chloe Taylor. I am a biochemical mass spectrometry scientist. I started as an apprentice back in 2017, and I recently transferred into a full-time role, so from apprentice to FTE from September of this year. I grew up in Stevenage, so born and raised. I took A-levels in biology, chemistry and maths at the Thomas Allen Academy in the Old Town. I'm currently working in early drug discovery in the development of screening bespoke assays to assess target engagement. So essentially investigating how enzymes interact with compounds of interest and their substrates. I'm specialised in the use of mass spectrometry and tandem mass spec techniques such as chromatography. I'll get into this a little bit later, but I study with the Manchester Metropolitan University, and I'm set to finish my BSc in chemistry in the summer of 2022.
So my name is Ross Biddulph. I'm a third-year apprentice from St Neots, which is just up the A1. And I'm also a laboratory science apprentice, but whereas Chloe is a chemistry apprentice, I am on the biology side of things. I joined straight from sixth form, where I studied maths, biology, chemistry and German. The role that I currently have in the company is looking at early drug safety, so using different cells or proteins and predictive models to find out whether potential medicines might have any side effects, to sort of decide whether to progress that molecule down the drug development process. I study with the University of Kent, which I will discuss a bit more later on, and I also take part in a lot of STEM work. So I run a outreach program at the Thomas Allen Academy, as well as representing GSK at various different sort of conventions pre-coronavirus, which is great because it's sort of an opportunity to get involved in something separate from my sort of day-to-day job. So our site is right down the end of Gunnelswood Road, over the other end of the sort of last roundabout. It's a huge site. It's one of GSK's 2 global R&D hubs, the other of which is in Philadelphia in the United States, which is a really great opportunity to have such an important part of a huge company right here in Stevenage. There are up to 2,500 people on site every day for coronavirus. And in terms of early talent, so we're looking at other apprentices or industrial placement students who are here on a sort of a year in industry from university, goes into the hundreds. So it's quite a good, quite a large young contingent. So there's quite a bit of sort of socialising as well for Stevenage site. And it's a really, really great site to work on.
Okay, so I'm going to take over now and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company in general before we get into our apprenticeships. So next slide, please. So our annual turnover of about £30.8 billion a year makes us one of the world's top 10 pharmaceutical companies in the industry. In total, we employ more than 100,000 people across the world, and we operate in more than 150 different countries. This includes the big hubs in Stevenage and Philadelphia, and just as many offices in smaller developing countries as well. Right now, we are investing in Africa more too, bringing our expertise to secluded communities and taking a more flexible approach to pricing in developing countries. In this way, we can help make sure that people who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford medicine get access to the things they need to help them do more, feel better, and live longer. So we have 3 main global businesses that research, develop and innovate pharmaceutical medicines, vaccines, and consumer healthcare products. Our pharmaceuticals business develops and makes medicines to treat conditions including respiratory diseases, cardiovascular disorders, diabetes, and HIV and AIDS. We regard our franchises in HIV and respiratory disease as core to our future, given our long track record in these areas, the scale of our business, and the innovation coming through our pipeline. With a 5.2 billion turnover in 2017, our vaccines business is one of the largest in the world. We research and make vaccines for children and adults that protect against infectious diseases, including influenza, malaria, measles, mumps and rubella, tetanus and meningitis. And with a global turnover of £7.2 billion in 2017, our consumer healthcare business develops and markets products based on scientific innovation in the categories of wellness, skin health, oral health, and nutrition. I'm sure you've heard of many of them. You may not have even realised with GSK products such as Aquafresh, Corsadil, and Sensodyne, to name 3. So we are the exciting minds behind billions of healthcare products each year. We are the exciting minds that help develop vaccines that prevent millions of deaths each year. And we are the exciting minds that put consumers at the heart of everything that we do. So passing over to Ross, who's going to tell you a little bit about why we need students and apprentices at GSK.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chloe. Hopefully now you guys have got a taste of what GSK are, what we do as a company, and you really can see that it's such a huge company with a really important role in developing medicines and vaccines. And what we need is students and apprentices, such as myself and Chloe, to help develop these sort of medicines and really play an important role within the company. And I'm going to talk a little bit to you now about how you can do that and also our own sort of personal experiences. So there are 2 main ways into GSK as a young person. The first route is the route of myself and Chloe and many other people, in that we are a school leaver. So joining straight from sixth form or college, or having years out and then coming back to it throughout degree apprenticeships, higher apprenticeships. This is, in my opinion, the better way. I may be slightly biased, and this is what the sort of main part of this talk will be around: apprenticeships. The other route is via university, whether this may be with an industrial placement. So you can do a 4-year degree where one of those years is a year in industry, and basically you can apply for that year working at GSK. And then also you can join as a graduate once you've completed your studies at university. So the school leaver route is what I'm going to be talking about next. So apprenticeships, I really think, are the way forward. Globally, there are lots of different apprenticeships available. Within Stevenage, there are lab science apprenticeships, there are business, engineering, there are the sort of IT data scientists as well. And all of these opportunities, you can start working and doing real important work from day one. Starting doing an apprenticeship, you're learning from the very best. There are real experts in whatever field you may be doing. I certainly find in the science areas that when you're working with someone who's got 20, 30 years of experience, who has written and published many, many papers, that learning from those people can be a real boost. And that's something that you would you get so much more contact than you would if you were at university, for example. You, as I've said previously, are doing work that is really making a difference to people's lives. You are helping make medicines, helping people do more, feel better, and live longer. In terms of doing an apprenticeship, you guys will earn the on-the-job training, as well as internationally and industrially accredited awards and qualifications, such as your bachelor's degrees, different colleges that allocate the qualifications that your apprenticeship will be studying for. You'll be gaining a salary as well, which is great, as well as most things being funded, and this can be a big benefit over university, where a lot of people come out with debt. And the sort of day-to-day work in a place like GSK is great. It's a very nice place to work, and I'm really glad of the decision that I've made. So my apprenticeship is a laboratory science apprenticeship. I'm a biologist, and I am 3 years in. In those 3 years, well, at the end of the 3 years, you get a foundation degree, of which you then do a 2-year top-up to get your bachelor's degree. So whereas if at university, you would get a bachelor's degree in 3 years, doing an apprenticeship, you get a bachelor's degree in 5 years. But that is only from studying 1 day a week, as opposed to university, which is full-time. It's affiliated with the University of Kent, which is down in Canterbury, but the studying is done via an online learning platform known as Moodle. There's a summer school, which basically you go down to the university for a week in the first 2 years of the apprenticeship, sort of live like a student, stay in the halls of residence, and get sort of a focused week of studying done. In the work that I do in Stevenage, I'm in a department of around 80 people with 5 IPs. So these are the industrial placement students, and 2 other apprentices. So there's quite a large department, but within that there is quite a large contingency of young people to socialise with and go out with. So it is quite a nice sort of young social place to work. The work that I'm doing is electrophysiology, which is looking at ion channels, as well as early drug safety, as I sort of touched on previously.
So much like Ross, I've been doing my higher foundation degree. I'm affiliated with the Manchester Metropolitan University, but I also study via Moodle. I actually completed my foundation degree this year, last academic year, and I'm due to graduate with an actual bachelor's in chemistry in the summer of 2022. I study at Manchester Metropolitan for 1 week a year as part of the residential programme. So I do get to live like a student a little bit, but without all the the horrible perks that come with it, I suppose. Unlike Ross, I work in a much smaller department that's split into 2. There's only 4 of us that work in the biochemical space, so it's a much more focused group. I'm accountable for the mass spectrometry capabilities for our screening group at GSK. So I'm in charge of keeping instrumentation running and also evaluating new kit, which can be pretty exciting. I also develop bespoke target engagement assays for early drug discovery projects. So a lot of things that may not have been committed to as a target yet. They need some sort of information on how their molecule of interest is interacting, and potentially how potential drug molecules are interacting as well. So in the selection process there. So what does a GSK apprenticeship offer you? I know Ross has spoken quite a bit about this already, but there's three main pillars up there I think are really important. The main one being that you learn on the job from industry experts. So being in quite a small department, I found that I've learned a lot from people that have got 20, 30 years of GSK experience. I've not met anybody yet that doesn't want to help. Everybody is more than happy to lend a hand, to share their experiences, to really give you some information to help you progress your career even further. You also earn a competitive salary and benefits. So there's also no nasty tuition fees. So you're sort of 4 or 5 years ahead by the time you've finished your apprenticeship than your average graduate. And you also study towards nationally recognised qualifications. So like I said, I'll have a degree in about 2 years' time, and I'll have 5 years of GSK experience, and hopefully the world will be falling at my feet in terms of opportunities. Just going to give you a moment to take a look at what some of our current and alumni apprentices have to say before we move on.
So the university route is sort of the alternative to the apprenticeship of getting into a company like GSK. So the way of going to university, as I've said before, there are a few different ways. The industrial placements that people do is a really popular way to get into a company, basically where you would do a 4 or 5 year long degree at university, where you spend 1 year of that in a company such as GSK. You would have to apply for that within that 3rd year. It's often where you would then spend that in a company like GSK. As well as this, there are grad programs such as a Future Leaders program, where once you finish your degree, you apply and start, and the FLP program is a 4-year program which involves lots of different rotation into different departments. So there are plenty of opportunities to get into a company like GSK. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. If you do have any questions, we will try our best to answer them. If you can put them into the chat function. I am aware that we don't have too much time left. So if we've got any at the moment, do you choose the university you're affiliated to? So I can answer that one. You don't. All of the because there are so many apprentices at GSK, they all go to the sort of the same university provider, which can be really beneficial, because then if there are any problems, you've got so many other people who have also doing the same thing as you. So there's lots of different people that you can ask to help you learn, but you don't choose. No.
Just to add to that, the University of Kent is now GSK's provider for chemistry apprenticeship. So I joined a year before they did that. So that's why I'm at a different university to Ross. And do I need to live in Stevenage to join the apprenticeship? No, you don't. We've got people that have come from all over. A lot of people do sort of make the choice to move maybe closer to Stevenage if they live quite far away. But yeah, no, it's not essential.
With the summer camp, is the travelling paid for? Whenever you need to go away anywhere with a company like GSK, you can get reimbursed for the majority of things.
Yeah, so everything travelling wise is always paid for, and food and stuff like that. You also get like an allowance, but yeah, you're not out of pocket. And GSK also paid for my textbooks, so they can be quite expensive.
Are there options to work at different sites? So there are lots of different apprenticeships. Normally when you apply for an apprenticeship, it is based at one site, but within a one role, I don't think that there is opportunity to rotate between departments within like different sites. I don't know if you know any different, Chloe.
In terms of different sites, obviously there's some jobs at where So it's not uncommon necessarily sometimes to go over to Ware, for example, if you need to, but it's not normally a permanent thing. In terms of international travel, it's quite difficult when you're on your apprenticeship to do that, obviously, because you've got the university commitments. But it's not uncommon for people sort of on the Future Leaders program or even like standard employees to go and spend a few months out in Philadelphia, for example. It's quite common for us. So travel is definitely an option, but maybe not so much in your first few years.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. We have run out of time, so we're going to have to wrap up. Really appreciate you all coming to our breakout session, and I hope you've learned a lot. Thank you.
Apprenticeship information is available. If you literally just search GSK apprenticeships, it'll bring up so much, not just for science, but for things like, I think, artwork and stuff like that. Graphic, I think somebody asked a question about, artwork design and delivery. Take a look, just search GSK apprenticeships and you will find the answer, hopefully, to all your questions.
Good evening to everybody. Thank you very much for taking the opportunity to join the MBDA breakout session. My name is Alison and I shall be hosting this session for you this evening. Apologies that you can't see me. There's been some technical issues, which means that I can't use my camera, which is slightly frustrating. But anyway, we can carry on as normal and I shall pretend that you can all see me. So I hope you enjoyed the panel session. You've got a little more information about who MBDA are, what we do, as well as the opportunities that we have on our early careers programs. In this particular breakout session, I'll be joined by 4 of my colleagues. All of them are on one of our early careers programs, and we really felt that the best thing for us to do is we wanted to really get you to kind of talking to the people that are on the programs at the moment. So we're going to be hearing from them all individually. I'll be asking a series of questions to all of them. I'm not too sure what's going to happen with timings now, seeing as we are overrunning, but we've got some questions to go through with you. And then we'd like to obviously open it up to some questions from you at the end as well. So in a minute, I'm going to kick off with some very quick intros. But before we start with these kind of panel questions, I'm just going to do a couple of quick housekeeping points. You might find it useful to switch your view to speaker view if you haven't already. Please put any questions for me or the panel in the chat box, and we'll try and answer those as we go. We'll take them at the end. And do just remember that we're an organisation that works in the defence sector, so there may be some questions that we simply can't answer, but we will try our very hardest. So let's move on to some introductions. My name is Alison. As I say, I work in the early careers recruitment team. So all of those questions that I saw in the group chat earlier around entry requirements, etc., I'm the best person to ask for those sort of things. I've been at MBDA for about 3 years now, and I've always worked since I graduated in kind of recruiting roles for large organisations onto graduate and apprentice programmes. So that's myself. I'll move on to ask Marcus if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Yeah, certainly. Good evening all. My name is Marcus. I am currently a third-year business apprentice working at MBDA, and at the moment working in what's called major equipment procurement. So buying engineering components, supplies, and liaising with external businesses to make the company run.
Lovely, thank you. Ria, do you want to go next?
Hi, my name's Ria. I'm a first year mechanical degree apprentice. So I've only recently started in September, but hopefully I'll be able to give you a snapshot into what it's like starting and going into a business initially. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Zoe, did you want to go next?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Zoe, and I'm a second year environmental engineering graduate. So I've been in the company just over a year, halfway through my grad scheme, and I'm on my third placement now, doing my external in mechanical analysis.
Lovely, thank you very much, Zoe. And Christian.
Hi everyone, I'm Christian Crockett, and I recently finished the Missile Architecture graduate scheme, which is a 2-year-long program, and I'm now a senior electrical architect lead. And what that effectively means is that I'm doing the engineering side of things as well as the project management and the program management side of things.
Lovely, thank you very much, Christian. So I will kick off with some questions then. Looking forward to hearing some lovely answers from my lovely colleagues. First of all, what I'm really interested in knowing is what has your best experience to date been on the particular programme that you're on? Christian, you just mentioned that you have come off your programme now, so I'm guessing you've got lots of experiences that you can talk us through.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short in the interest of the schedule overrunning a little, but there's so many things that I'd say were my best experience that I never thought I'd get to go through with a company or MBDA. I think one of my favourite is probably being lucky enough to attend an air show representing MBDA, telling people what we're about and showing people the kind of work we can do while having an F-35 doing aerial tricks in the background and Chinooks flying sideways. I just thought that was a really fun, best experience. Personally, I think also having the opportunity to work with teams in France and Germany on a regular basis. I was probably pre-COVID, I think I was traveling every couple of weeks doing really serious international work. And that's something that's always interested me because I come from quite a multicultural personal background. So understanding how different cultures work in a business context has always been quite exciting to me. And then working quite intimately with the Navy and the RAF on various different programs and going and meeting their young employees as well and how our programs and projects interact. And I'll leave it there for now.
Lovely, thank you. Ria, I know you're only a few months in. Have you got anything that's been your best experience to date?
Yeah, so as you just said, I've literally only joined in September, so I don't have like a long list of things. But what I can say is that I've recently got involved in designing dust caps that have been used in a sand and dust trial, which for me has been really, really cool. And I basically got to 3D model them using a CAD software, which I've never done before. And then I got to go into the office and actually see them being 3D printed, which was really, really interesting for me. And I got to do that with a third-year apprentice who helped me loads. And I think that's a really key point there as well. You're not just left to do work on your own. You're given guidance and help, and you do things together as a team. And you know, it will be fine if you don't ever be worried that you're going to be left to just do work on your own, because you always work together. But yeah.
Thank you. That's really impressive that you've already been in, given you've only joined in September and done some real kind of hands-on practical work as well. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Marcus, what about your thoughts on this?
In terms of sort of the most interesting best experience, I think building on what Christian said with regards to international working and with regards to travel, in one of my previous placements I was working in software procurement, so a similar role to where I am now, but purchasing sort of everything you need to make a company run, everything that's software based. And it was a very small team, which meant that in supporting the manager, I was able to sort of take on, as I grew more experienced in the role, I was able to take on more work. And so at the end of the day, I was almost kind of managing several projects, international contract negotiation, contract discussion across several European countries. And I did get a chance to go out to Toulouse in France for a couple of trips to go and negotiate in person. So it was a really, really good opportunity and a great learning experience, I think.
Lovely, thank you very much, Marcus. And finally, Zoe, what can you tell us about your best experience today?
So for me, similar to Marcus and Christian, I've done a little bit of travel for work, but for me that actually isn't the best experience. Some of mine was the more practical stuff that we did in some of the labs on site. So environmental engineering isn't quite what you might think, but it's all of the testing and checking that all the end products are safe to be used in the environments we want to use them in. So it was really exciting to actually get to see the products and help with testing them hands-on, which is something I don't think you'd get anywhere else. So for me, that's been pretty good.
That's lovely. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you. We'll move on to have a look at our next question. So what we wanted to do was to look next at some of the myths or preconceptions or preconceived ideas, I should say, around various things. Obviously, we are a defence organisation, but we also are an engineering organisation, and we have graduate and apprentice opportunities. So I'd be really interested in hearing from each of you in terms of what kind of myths or any preconceived ideas you had of either MBDA or defence, etc., before you joined the organisation, and what is the actual reality of that. Given that we've got somebody that is so new to the business, it'd be really interesting to hear your thoughts first of all. So Ria, what would you say on that?
Okay, so before I joined, I thought, oh my gosh, it's going to be such a male-dominated world that I'm never going to be given sort of the more meatier work to do. But honestly, I couldn't be far from the truth. It is a male-dominated world, but you are given work. If you show enthusiasm and you show your keenness, no matter whether you're a boy or girl, you can really make an impact in this industry. And one other important note that I wanted to say was that my manager, who is a girl, and she won the Apprentice of the Year award. So that just sort of shows that you can do really, really well for yourself, regardless of whether you're a boy or girl. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Marcus, how about you?
Building on that with the sort of notion of what you're expected to do as an apprentice. I think maybe there's a bit of a stereotypical view that apprentices kind of don't do any real work, and you sort of sometimes make tea for the teams. And that might be true in some companies. It is not the case at MBDA. From the second you join the apprenticeship, you are doing real work because the company can't afford to have you not doing real work. You're good at your job. You've been hired because you're good. So you're going to get put on real programs, and you're not going to be, given the really silly little task to do. As Ria was saying, she's already started work on component design, component manufacture within 3 months of being here. That's amazing. So yeah, you don't get thrown into the deep end. There's huge amounts of support, but as you grow and develop, and as you improve your skills, you get more and more real world work. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And that was kind of a real impressive thing for me to find out. I enjoyed that. So yeah.
Thank you. I'd agree in terms of what I do in my role and trying to get across understanding of the differences between apprenticeships and people moving on to kind of graduate schemes, etc. Even anyone coming in to do kind of summer placements or anything like that with us. There is this kind of preconceived idea that you're not going to get involved in real work. And all of the feedback that I've ever had from anyone that I've spoken with on any of our early careers programs is certainly the complete opposite of that. That there is real work that you'll do from day one, and the fact when you're doing an apprenticeship is that you will learn, and you will through your kind of career, but also you'll learn from the study that you're doing. Christian, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. So when I was growing up, I wasn't quite sure the exact job I wanted to do. I knew I wanted it to be in engineering, and I wanted it to be around electronics. But the one thing I was certain of is that I didn't want a purely desk-based job. And so I think one of the myths that's worth clarifying is that a lot of these jobs are not as siloed as you probably think. And that's definitely something that I found at MBDA. Yes, I do have a desk, and I do plenty of work here. But I have a lot of lab work, lots of hands-on work, large forums that I both attend and host, international assignments, there's STEM outreach programs. So there's absolutely a massive variety of things that you can get your teeth into to get you up and about and off your desk. So I think that's probably the most important one to me.
Lovely, thank you. And Zoe, what do you think?
I think for me, when I was picking a grad scheme, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but what I've got out of being at MBDA is, I suppose, quite a lot of flexibility to an extent in choosing what I want to do in placements and the type of work, which I think it's really good to have that, I suppose, choice and input into what you actually want to end up doing. It helps you figure out what you want to do as well. So currently I'm on my external placement that I organised virtually, which was quite an interesting thing to do. And it's just really good to have that level of control over what you want to end up doing, which I didn't think I'd have quite so much input. I thought it'd be a lot more laid out.
That leads me on quite nicely to our next question, actually, because what I'm really interested to get across to the audience now is the kind of decision-making processes that you've all gone through. Obviously, all of you on different programs, different stages in your careers. But at one point you made that decision when you were made that offer to come and join us at MBDA. So what do you feel was the biggest factor, if you can just kind of put it into one factor, that impacted your decision to join us as an organisation? So let's start with Marcus.
This is a difficult one, given the current COVID-19 climate and sort of shift towards working from home occasionally. For me, what sold MBDA was the culture and the feeling. I've had a bit of a career before joining MBDA, and I had never felt sort of more relaxed or welcomed on entering a company's site than when I went to my interview with MBDA. It's almost like a university campus. It's a very, very interesting place to work. It's diverse. It's very, very supportive. And it really feels different to other companies. And I genuinely really enjoy it here. So yeah, hopefully once we're all back in the office full time, that's just going to continue. And it is a really supportive place to work. It's great for you, great culture.
Yes, thank you. And that's a really good point. We've had to obviously adapt a lot of our programs now that that COVID is here and likely to be here for a little while. So we've been doing a lot of work to work out how it is that we can still continue to support new people in the business, regardless of whether you're joining an apprenticeship program or a grad program or just into one of our experienced hire roles. So there's been lots of teams working heavily to see how we can still create that kind of one team environment, and everyone can still do the work that they need to do. So yeah, thank you, Marcus. So let's hear from Zoe next, please.
For me, it was the specific role itself, being environmental engineering. But there's, I think, next to nowhere that does anything quite the same that we do in environmental, which is all the practical testing in the labs of vibration, shaking, temperature conditions, all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you just don't get anywhere else. And same as Marcus, really, that when I came in for my interview and all of that, I just felt really welcome. And it just felt like somewhere I wanted to end up working, which was partly how I'd ended up picking my uni back at that point as well. So it's just that feeling of this suits me.
Lovely, thank you. I'll confess, I have lost track a little bit of who we've heard from. Who is my final person that we get to hear on this question on? Is it Ria?
That would be me, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Sorry, Ria.
That's all right. So yeah, for me, the biggest factor was just this whole idea that I could study and get my degree while gaining like real life work experience. And I thought that would just be, that is such an amazing opportunity and I couldn't miss out on it. So I applied and yeah, I'm really lucky to have this. So I'm really happy with my decision.
We're very pleased that you chose to join us as well. So I think we are getting close because of timings for the event. I'm not sure what's going to happen in terms of everyone going back to the main chat room. Or the main auditorium, I should say. We've got a question around what we're looking forward to getting involved in the future. So if we can just do a quick round the table on those and then open up for anyone that's got any chats or any questions, in the chat. If that's okay. So Ria, did you just want to go through, just tell us about what you're looking forward to getting involved in?
So I'm just kind of really excited about the whole scheme in general. I'm excited that I'm going to get a flavour of each department and that it's only going to be about 3 to 6 months. So it will give me a good enough taster for what it's actually like to work there. And then when it comes to a bigger decision time, when I decide which area of the business I want to go into, I would have already had a bit of a insight into what it's like. So I think that's going to be really fun, just going around all the different areas and yeah.
Thank you. Marcus, what are you looking forward to?
I'm going to be terribly unimaginative and echo Ria on this one. it was the selling point of the apprenticeship for me. It is the variety that you get up to, and the differences in, seeing the whole business as a business apprentice. Certainly, you do move around almost every single main project team, so you get a great feeling for how the whole company operates, from end user through to component supplier, and it's a great learning opportunity. It's a bit nerdy to say so, but who knows. So really, just the chance to do that and to finish my placement and go, of all the places I've been so far, where do I want to spend the next step of my career? And it's a very freeing feeling.
Lovely, thank you. Zoe, what would you say?
I think for me, pending all the COVID things, getting back into the office a bit more for more of the practical stuff on my final placement. My current one's been very desk-based, which is also great, and I'm learning a lot. But it'd be nice to get back in and hands-on again.
And Christian, you're obviously at a point where you're moving on to the next steps in your career.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I'm quite looking forward to. And one goes back to one of the first points I made, which was around international work and international assignments. And that's something that MBDA not only facilitates, but puts quite a large emphasis on. So if that's something that you're able to do and that you like to do, then MBDA is a great place to work. And it's certainly something I'm looking forward to. But I have to say the largest factor is sort of the training that I'm going to be able to receive while working for MBDA, because I'm at a stage in my career now where I finished the program and I've got to a point where I'm managing projects. There's a lot of training that goes on around that MBDA helps you pay for financially. It helps you put the hours towards it, and it's absolutely a great time to be joining MBDA.
Lovely, thank you. I'm just going to cover off a few quick questions that I can do from the chat. One of those was around any kind of interview tips. That's a big question. So my favourite kind of interview tips as a recruiter generally are you need to research why it is that you decided to join the organisation in the first place. You don't have to be immaculately polished in terms of your answers, but you just need to really think about what is your passion for joining that organisation, and make it really kind of personal to you, personal to your story. I would also say have a look at what it is that the actual interview is going to be as well, and that's just then getting some tips in terms of is it a competency-based interview or a strengths-based interview, really reaching out to people to get some kind of questions on what those on the best way to kind of handle those particular questions. I've just been given the heads up that unfortunately we are at a point where we need to say goodbye to everyone, and I'm really conscious there are so many great questions on here. So what I'll probably do is I'll take a note of all the questions, and I will get something sent out to all of the attendees via the hop, I think, or I'll do something to be able to share some of those that kind of information, because it seems such a great opportunity for us to be able to answer your questions directly. But thanks very much to everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of the sessions, and hopefully we will see you very soon in terms of an application, or maybe on site if we get to that point in the future.
So welcome and thanks for joining us in the NHS and Social Care Breakout Room. So my name is Rebecca. I'm joined by some of my colleagues from Health and Social Care tonight. I think it's really important that we say that whilst it's kind of advertised as the NHS breakout room, it's actually social care is a really important part of that, and we're really pleased that one of our colleagues from social care could join us tonight. So we're going to play a short video, and then I will ask everybody else who's joined me in the room just to introduce themselves and talk to you a little bit about their their role. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat box, and we will try and answer as many as possible. So Finn, if I can ask you if you could play the We Are the NHS campaign video, which will just highlight some of the many and varied careers that there are in healthcare.
Welcome to the Doctor's Show. We are the early start. We are the beating heart, born to answer a call. We are healthcare for all. For the people, for the nation, no matter your means, no matter your station. An institution built on a constitution. Our existence, your welfare, respect, humanity, compassion, care. In 72 years, we've come a long way, and there's still much to do, so we're here to stay. We are sons, daughters, husbands, wives, healing, supporting, saving lives. We're someone you wished you'd never met, who becomes your best bet. We're a thank you letter for making a 4-year-old better. We're a reward on every ward. Gratitude that tells us we're valued. We're heroes who sometimes feel like zeros. We're literally blood, sweat and tears that hasn't changed through the years. But we're not angels with wings. We're just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We are emergency admissions, difficult decisions, clinician, precision, incision. We're podiatrist, therapist, orthotist, prosthetist, pharmacist, oncologist, psychologist, pathologist. We're technological advances for far greater chances. Fascination, exploration, innovation, inspiration, imagination, transformation, and worldwide admiration. We're pioneers. We're over 350 rewarding careers. We're your peers, doing something of significance that makes a real difference, asking you to reach inside the depths of you to find the truth of what you can do. Because we are you at your very best. We are the NHS.
Thank you. So I think from that you'll see, and I appreciate it may have been a little bit slow for some people, but we can share the link so that you can watch it, and you'll see it all over the TV at the moment, and we can share that everyone to have a look at. So you'd have seen from that just how many careers there are, and that they're not all in hospital, although we are obviously joined here by East North Herts NHS Trust, who are a hospital, or the Lister Hospital you've probably seen and been there over the years. So now is what we're going to do is I'm just going to introduce our panel and ask them just to talk to you briefly about their role and how they found out about it. So if I can start with Alexi, and yours is a role that some people may not have heard of as a nurse and associate. So if you could just explain a little bit about how you found out, introduce yourself and explain about how you found out about your role and what that is, please.
Hi everyone, my name's Alexi and I work at Lister Hospital. I am a registered nursing associate, which is a new role in the NHS. So my role bridges the gap between a healthcare worker and a registered nurse. I found out about the role through my role already. I was a clinical support worker, which I started through a level 2 health and social care apprenticeship. I then did my level 3 health and social care apprenticeship, and then I heard about my registered nursing role from there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alexi. And I think we'll come on to the apprenticeships in more detail a bit later when we talk to you again. So now to come into we've got 2 physiotherapists joining us tonight. So Jack, if I can come to you first, if you could introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your role.
Hiya, so I'm Jack. I'm one of the physiotherapists that work at Lister Hospital. Currently in a rotational role, so we work both in the hospital itself and we work in the community. So you'll find us in outpatient clinics, so like Kingsway and Stevenage, so for your hurt knees and ankles, and also then post-surgery and those kind of bits. We have a wide variety of roles, looking at sort of from stroke wards to on the wards in elderly care to orthopaedics, which is your broken bones. And this is a route that we found myself and Amy would have gone to university for. So there is a degree attached to physiotherapy, and then sort of like the courses leading up to it are your sciences at school. It was something that I definitely wanted to do from school. I had thought about medicine at one point and becoming a doctor, but physio was a course that was quite competitive to get into, but really, really rewarding choice.
Thanks, Jack. And Amy, if I can come to you and if I can ask you to introduce yourself. Now, I guess most people probably have come across thinking of physiotherapists. You often think of the person running onto the sports field and dealing with an injured player on the pitch. But there's obviously so much more to that. Could you just give us a little bit about your role and kind of why it's more than just someone running onto the pitch as well?
So I'm Amy. I'm one of the physios. Yeah, you're right. Like, I think a lot of people picture physios to be kind of sports people, but I think actually kind of the reality is that we work in every different kind of aspect of what can you imagine in healthcare. We work, like Jack said, I'm rotational as well. So I work in the acute hospital, which is kind of for a variety of different patients. So, you know, stroke, which is actually how Jack and I work together. We work with amputees. You can work in, say, like the army, or you can work in the NHS for that. You can work in respiratory. So I spent, you know, throughout the pandemic, I was on the ITU. You can also work out in the community in people's houses and things like that. And you know, in I spent some of my placements in with learning disabilities for children and things like that. So I think everyone has this idea of sport, but actually there's quite a lot more to it. And I think actually what's good about physio and other areas of healthcare is that you really can go anywhere. So.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy. And so, Paul, I'm going to come to you next. So Paul is one of our social care colleagues from Hertfordshire County Council. And I think what's really important to say is the healthcare system couldn't function if it wasn't for our social care colleagues. So that's why we're really pleased Paul was able to join us. So Paul, if you could introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about some of the roles that are available in social care, please.
Oops. Hello, everybody. My name's Paul Rainbow, as Rebecca said. Sorry, my video's not working. Basically, in social care, we do everything. You may have seen on the telly the older people in care homes. The carers are looking after and perform what we call a social care role. Other types of roles, we work with people with learning disabilities, autism, people with eating disorders, a whole gambit. We work with everybody from birth to sort of passing over and anything in between. We have a lot of people who undertake what you might be more familiar with, social worker roles. And again, you know, we have a great variety of social work roles. We work with children, older people, people with mental health problems. Yeah, it's a really, really exciting career, you know, and it's a great pleasure to work in partnership with the National Health Service. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Paul. So I'm just going to come back to Amy and Jack now. And as we've said, if you have got any questions as we're chatting, just pop them in the box and we can try and answer them for you. So Amy, I'm going to ask you I think you've both already touched on why and how you got into the role. But I was going to ask you what an average day looks like. So from when you arrive at work in the morning to when you go home, if you could just talk through some of the things that you do day to day, please.
Yeah, of course. So for me at the moment on my rotation, I'm currently on trauma and orthopedics. So I spend the morning kind of going through, we've got like an online system basically where we see what patients we've got, any new ones that have come in overnight. And we'll look through, say, like the trauma list, anyone who's having operations today, tomorrow to be aware of. We kind of regroup as a team. So obviously we work closely with occupational therapists and other people like therapy support workers. So we'll kind of hand out and do like a priority list of people that we need to see and to kind of be aware of. And then we'll go to what's called MDT, which is multidisciplinary team. So that's when we'd work with doctors and nurses and again, healthcare workers, just in general, of anyone, social workers. And we'll kind of, you know, talk about the patients, get a bit of an understanding of where patients are at from like different, you know, we're not just thinking from our physical kind of stuff, we're talking about the medical things as well. So we're aware of that. And then we'll go and see patients. So we go and see them. We work again closely with other people. We'll work with the nurses or the doctors in terms of making plans for patients, and we'll kind of see them and, you know, prioritize them throughout the day. And to be honest, you can't plan it because you could end up having a list of patients, but then actually some patients will, you know, as physios, we do like chest physio. So that's working with people for breathing. So if that comes up, that'll be a priority over anything else. So it is just generally, it's different every day, but we try and, you know, work closely with other people from different parts of healthcare to kind of make sure that we're all achieving the same thing for each patient and we're taking into account other people's care.
Great, thank you, Amy. And I think that is the key for any job you do in health or social care. Even in my role as a project manager and my previous roles, every day really is genuinely different. And yes, it is. There are days that are challenging and difficult, but actually that feeling when you've helped someone and made a difference at the end of it, it is really the best thing. So Jack, I'm going to come to you now, and just to ask you. Obviously, since COVID, everything has changed for a lot of people. And I guess if I was planning to come and study, I'd be wondering what it's like now and what differences and how your role, how your job's changed since COVID has come into place, or if it actually hasn't changed and actually you are still doing exactly what you were doing 8 or 9 months ago.
So when COVID started, obviously there was quite a drastic change. There was a lot of sort of fear and worry around, especially in hospital where sick people are coming, and you did have more patients coming in with COVID. There was a lot of fear around it, and then it soon became the new normal. And patients were coming in with COVID, but not everyone was that unwell. You had a lot of patients that did need some extra help, but a lot of patients that felt rotten, but were carrying on as normal. So our day didn't change too much. You were still working in the same teams. You had to wear gloves and gowns, at every opportunity now. So there was a slight change in the way that we were working with people. We had a few extra doors put up to put a bit more distance between us and our patients. But other than that, the role didn't really change. So you were still getting hands-on with these sorts of people, getting involved where you needed to, giving the advice as you would normally. And, you still treated people in the same way, because actually during this time, people were isolated from their family, like a lot of the role at Lister, the visitors have all changed. So actually people couldn't have family attending. And so we were the only sort of human interaction that you had. So in a way, it became not necessarily about your role as much, but more becoming, as caring as you could to enable people to have the best experience in a hospital. And fundamentally, that's why a lot of us get into this job. We love working with people. We love what we do. We love making a difference and changing someone's day. And all throughout COVID, you were given that opportunity on a daily basis just to be able to show up, make someone smile, make someone's day a little bit better, because typically if you're in hospital, it's not a great day, right? You're never seeing anyone at their best, but you have an opportunity to really change that. And so that's where a lot of people thrived. As much hard work as it was, we really got to enjoy the challenge that, this is something that no one has ever seen before. And we're, on the front line, as everyone likes to say, making that difference, putting smiles on people's faces and actually making a really bad day not so bad.
Brilliant, Jack. That's really nice to hear. And that difference to patients has become even more important without their relatives being able to come and see them at the moment. So just seeing a few of the questions that are popping up in the chat, just to come back to a couple of them. So there was a question around radiology and an apprenticeship. I don't know the answer to that. George, do you know the answer? If you want to step into that one, please.
Hi, thanks, Rebecca. I think the question was about being a radiologist. I'm interpreting that as a radiographer rather than a radiologist. There is a degree apprenticeship for radiographers. However, I've just done a quick search and I haven't found anywhere that's offering that at the moment. There probably would be a route into doing. Sorry, start that again. The route would probably be going to university and doing a degree, and that's normally a 2 or 3 at A levels or BTEC, etc. So what I would do is I'd signpost you to the healthcareers.nhs.uk for that specific information around the radiographer entry requirements, and I'll post that on the link in a second. If it's for a radiologist, you'd need to train to be a doctor first, and then go through specialist training to be a radiologist. I hope that helps.
Brilliant, thanks, George. And similarly, there was a question underneath around apprenticeships for paramedic. So I believe that there are apprenticeship routes for in the ambulance service, and we can find the link and share that with you. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone from the ambulance service joining us tonight, but we can definitely give you that information so that you can find that out and have a look and know who to contact for more information. The other question I've seen just before we come back to talk a little bit more about apprenticeships is around medicine and choosing their A levels, and I will put in a link into the chat box in a minute. There's a really fantastic hot webinar that took place earlier in the summer with a junior doctor who I believe now has gone to America from Eastern North Arts Trust, but he's really inspirational and talks about how he made his choices and how he went from being at school through to choosing his A levels and his path to becoming a doctor. And I really recommend that as a really great watch if you're not too sure about what A levels you should be choosing and whether it's for them or not. He will give you that. Also, in terms of work experience, I think I mentioned this earlier. Unfortunately, we've had to currently suspend face-to-face work experience. But on our academy website, and again, I'll put the link in the chat box. There are some really great medical like virtual opportunities at the moment that you can do, which will help you make some of those decisions about whether medicine is right for you or not. So I'll pop all that in the chat box. So in a minute, we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the apprenticeship routes, and I think there might be some more questions in the chat room, so we'll try and keep up with some of those as well, and catch up with those afterwards. But I want to bring in Alexi and Paul to talk about apprenticeships. But first of all, Finn, if you could play the apprenticeship video for us, that would be great, please. Thank you.
Apprenticeships are vital to the NHS. Here's our story.
I never thought that I'd be first on scene to an emergency.
I never thought I'd be working with world-class surgeons.
I never thought I'd be in a job that I'd be well suited, not only to myself, but also be helpful to other people.
I never thought that I'd have to repair equipment during an operation.
I never thought that as an apprentice, a patient would turn around to me at the end of treatment and say, "I've just made his day."
I never thought I'd be in the same room as someone taking their last few breaths.
I never thought I'd be helping patients with their morning wash.
I never thought I'd be revalidating trainee doctors.
It's very rare that you get a job that you come in every day and think, "Oh, I can't wait to see what's happening today."
You're with a group of people, especially in this apprenticeship, who become your family. You learn on the job and you get the best training because you're with people who are fully qualified.
Some people live on their own. It's their only journey they get out each day, so they enjoy it. They're happy to see us even though they're going to hospital.
A lot of people struggle to see how people in an office like myself can make a difference to the patients out there. Sometimes it is a bit far removed, but it's really important to remember that everything we do relates directly back to the patient and patient care.
I did it.
I did it.
I did it.
I did it.
We did it.
I think like one of the first tasks that you're going to be given as a nursing assistant is the morning washes. And for me, like a young lad, I'd never thought I'd be doing that, but I think I do it well.
Well, it kind of feels nice that they're actually helping people out there, even if you're not meeting them.
You can do it too.
So can you.
You can do it too.
So can you.
I think the apprenticeship's been the best route for me because I've learned, worked and developed as a person as well as a dental nurse.
These are just a few of the stories of the NHS in the North East, and they all started with an apprenticeship.
That's a wrap.
Hi, sorry, and so just being reminded of the time, just whilst we've got a couple of minutes, Alexia, just wanted to come to you just to talk about your apprenticeship route and how you come from a healthcare assistant through to the nursing associate. If we've just got a couple of minutes to do that, please, Finn.
Hiya. So when I first started, I first volunteered as a student volunteer at the List Hospital whilst I was doing my A-levels to make sure it was something I wanted to get into. From there, I applied for a job in the NHS jobs for a level 2 health and social care apprenticeship, which I completed whilst working, earning a wage, gaining valuable experience, and I realised it's something I really wanted to do. From there, in my job, there was an opportunity for me to complete my level 3 health and social care apprenticeship. So I did that as well, which took another year, all while I was working and earning a wage. And then out come the Registered Nursing Associate apprenticeship route, which is a foundation degree. So one day a week I went to university and the rest I was working in my area, as well as completing placements in so many different areas such as mental health, community settings, outpatients, other acute wards. And then I've completed that, and I've also now got the opportunity to do my nursing degree top-up apprenticeship. So overall, I've been very lucky to have been given so many opportunities within the NHS to progress whilst I've maintained a job and a wage and help patients along the way.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alexi. And Alexi also kindly filmed a video for us back in the autumn as well. So you can watch Alexi's full story on the link that I've sent earlier to the Health and Care Academy. We've been trying to answer as many of the questions as we can in the chat box. If there's any we missed, we will go back through and make sure we get them and get information out to you as well.
Right, good to have you all back. So what happens next? Well, you can hop onto HOP, the HOP, to find everything you need. HOP is the premier gateway in Hertfordshire for everything you need to help you make career choices. And when I disappear in a few seconds' time, on the screen you'll see details of how to access that. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this evening. Good luck on your life journeys. I envy you being at the start of those journeys and wish you the very best in the choices you make. In the meantime, on behalf of Generation Stevenage, on behalf of all our sector champions that have run those sessions this evening, good luck and good night.